In the headlines tonight, more bad news for the consumer. Wholesale prices are up again, and consumers are meeting that dollar-eating crunch by using credit cards. We'll have a special report. We'll also have a report on testimony today in the Betty Lou Johnson murder trial. Mrs. Johnson was still on the stand today. Plus, we'll take a look back at December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day. Action News 5 is next.
Back a winner. Use Christmas seals this holiday season and help stamp out the big three: emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and asthma. Your lung association cares.
And we do too!
John Philip Sousa's rollicking operetta El Capitan will be presented by the touring National Opera Company at the WRAL TV Auditorium in Raleigh, December 7th and 8th. The hilarious scenes unfold in a colorful setting to reveal a story of intrigue and romance. That's El Capitan, December 7th and 8th at the WRAL TV Auditorium in Raleigh.
Hello, I'm Frank White, and this week on the Southern Sportsman, we'll be surf fishing the Golden Isles of Georgia for puppy drum and large channel bass. Now, in South Carolina, this fish is called the spot-tailed bass. On the Gulf Coast, redfish, and along the Georgia coast, just bass. Whatever you call it, the red drum is a super game fish, worth hunting, as we'll be doing this week right here on the Southern Sportsman.
Sunday at 2 on TV 5. The news people are next on Action News 5 with Charlie Getty, Rich Brenner, and Bob DeBartoleben.
Good evening. In the news tonight, more bad economic news today. Inflation continues to advance at near double-digit levels. The government reported today wholesale prices jumped to 0.8% in November. If that rate continued through the year, the rate of inflation would hit 9.6%. There was some good news, however. Food prices dipped to 0.6%, down sharply from the 1.7% gains of the previous 2 months. But on the whole, there were a few bright spots for the consumer. So how are Christmas shoppers coping with the dollar-eating inflation? It's simple. Consumers battered by near double-digit inflation are carrying a record burden of debt. And credit cards, or plastic money as they're called, are helping consumers prop up their sagging pocketbooks. In North Carolina and 4 other southern states, the use of the 2 major credit cards is up 36% over last year. And merchants agree this Christmas is the busiest time ever for credit cards. With usage up, so are the number of questions from consumers. Don Griffin, in the first of a series of reports tonight, tells us about our rights and responsibilities.
The Federal Reserve System's Truth in Lending Act protects credit card holders from being charged undue interest rates. For instance, if your bill comes to $100 for the entire year, the most you should have to pay in interest is $18 or 18%. Companies can use different formulas for arriving at the interest rate, but it can't exceed 18% annually. With more and more people now using credit cards, the State Attorney General's office is being swamped with complaints over high interest rates. Consumer specialist Jean Ann Woolhardt explains what you can do to find out if your bill is in error.
On a separate sheet of paper from your bill, write the credit card company disputing that amount of the bill, pay the rest of the bill or whatever you were going to pay. And during the time it's being investigated by the credit card company, no interest charges can accrue on that disputed amount. After they reinvestigate, they notify you, the charge is either removed or it remains the same, and the finance charges are added back on.
The Attorney General's office says if your credit card is stolen or lost, you can only be held responsible for up to $50, but you must notify the company immediately. Don Griffin, Action News 5.
The cost of credit cards goes beyond the customer's monthly finance charges. As Loretta Harris reports, there's a charge to merchants who honor major credit cards.
Merchants honoring major credit cards are charged according to the average monthly ticket size they handle. So in effect, the more large price items the customers charge, the less the merchant will have to pay.
The cost involved is a cost of doing business, and our rates are governed by the state of North Carolina. The maximum that the merchant can charge is 6%.
McCall says the average cost for a merchant to use MasterCharge is from 2.5% to 4%. Many merchants use major credit cards because their use reduces bookkeeping and collection costs for their businesses. But how much of this extra charge to the merchant is passed along to the consumer?
I think you eventually pay for the convenience.
So the person who pays cash, in essence, is paying for the person who uses the credit cards.
That's kind of hard to say that for sure.
Even the merchants who have their own credit cards offer others as well.
A great many people carry a lot of different credit cards, and we have our own Burton's charge, but we will also accept Visa and MasterCharge, and it's plus business for us.
Bank card officials say a few businesses have stopped accepting major credit cards because they can't afford them. But most businesses feel they have to honor at least one or two major cards because it means more business for them and just because most people have them. Loretta Harris, Action News 5.
In a word, credit cards are easy. They're easy for the customer and the merchant. But as Aviva Diamond reports, they're not always that easy to get.
There's a kind of catch-22 about credit cards. If you've never had one, you'll probably have a tough time getting one.
Youthful credit appliers will find it difficult because of the fact they have no ability to present previous credit history. In applying for credit cards, it is the most difficult and normally never issued to someone who has never had credit before.
The best thing to do, Arrowwood says, is prepare yourself now to get credit in the future. Even if you've never had a credit card, never bought anything on time, never taken out a mortgage, there are certain things you can do to convince a bank or card company that you are creditworthy. First, open a checking or even better, a savings account at a bank. Later, you can use that bank as a reference or apply to the bank for your card. Future creditors also examine your job stability and how long you've lived in the same place.
Arrowwood says that first-time credit card applicants should remember with buy now, pay later plans, it's a case of let the seller beware. Aviva Diamond, Action News 5.
While establishing credit may be a problem for some, plastic money is usually just an application away. But what would happen if tomorrow we all toss them away? Mike Toscano reports.
Hello, how are you? Hi. This be cash or charge?
$10. We are a society that is based on credit. As a matter of fact, large retail stores depend on credit for about 50% of their sales. But what would happen if one day all of us just took our credit cards and...
The immediate effect definitely would be a reduction in consumer spending. The question is to what degree. My evaluation is it wouldn't be major. The government could merely increase the money supply so that there would be more money available to banks and savings loans to lend out to consumers, so that the long-run effect could be nil.
That wouldn't be inflationary if we were printing more money?
That would be inflationary, yes.
But, adds Dr. Walden, a sudden disappearance of credit cards would decrease consumer demand for goods, and that is deflationary. So the economy would probably balance out eventually. Customers would learn to deal with cash as money the government adds to the economy ends up in people's deposit accounts. The only possibility of an adverse effect we could find is that some store owners feel sales of large items, such as house furnishings that are now often sold on long-term installment accounts, might be hurt. But if the economy would balance out, and if people will learn to adapt, it would appear that credit isn't the only card in our economic deck. Mike Toscano, Action News 5.
Still to come, testimony continues in the Betty Lou Johnson murder trial. Mrs. Johnson says she begged her husband to seek psychiatric help, but he refused. And although convictions are up, the prison population is down. Those stories and more coming up next on Action News 5.
Merry Christmas, Merry, Merry Christmas from your Kmart Christmas store.
Kmart has many gifts priced at under $10. The Black & Decker jigsaw for curved, straight, and scroll cuts. French clutch or purse in smart shades from Amity. His and her easy fit velour robes in warm colors and kimono style. And Revell's Big Bad Van Kit for real model fans.
Christmas smiles on every face at Kmart's Christmas saving place.
The beef people. A name like that, Winn-Dixie's got to give you good eating beef, like W.D. Brand U.S. Choice T-Bones. Closer trimmed of excess bone and fat before they're weighed and sold. When Dixie gives you great T-bone steaks, we've got to. We're the beef people.
They earn the name Beef People when they sing.
Come help us celebrate the child, my friend.
These beautiful children suffer from the most horrible disease known to man, cancer. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital needs your help in its battle to conquer childhood cancer and other catastrophic childhood disease. To learn more, please write St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, Memphis, Tennessee.
Betty Lou Johnson testified in Wake Superior Court today. She did not call her husband back into the house so she could kill him. Instead, she said the gun went off when he came at her. She's on trial for murder in the shooting death last July 10th of her husband, Dr. Archie Johnson. Layla Tavette has been following that trial and was back in the courtroom today. Layla?
Charlie, the story Betty Lou Johnson told under cross-examination was substantially the same that she told the jury earlier. She said she and Dr. Archie Johnson had an argument, one of many they had had during a marriage she said was in shambles. But this time he threatened to kill the children, she said. He blocked her exit from the front door and she ran for the back door. She says she passed the hall closet where she had hidden the gun that Dr. Johnson had threatened to kill her with before. She stopped to get the gun. As she got to the kitchen, she says her husband came at her and the gun went off. The next thing she said she remembers is seeing her daughter with the gun. Her daughter called police. Mrs. Johnson's attorneys played a tape of that phone call in court with the jury out. On the tape, the Johnson girl, Celeste, tells police, "I've got somebody shot here," and gives the address. In the background, you can hear Mrs. Johnson crying and screaming. The tape was not played to the jury. Tomorrow, Celeste is expected to testify, Charlie.
Thank you, Layla. Two men robbed a bank in the historic town of Bath in Beaufort County today. There were no injuries, and the FBI says the men escaped in a black car with a tan top. Federal agents in Charlotte arrested a 50-year-old Kannapolis man today, charging him with the holdup of a bank last weekend. John Josie is accused of robbing a branch of Security Bank and Trust in Charlotte. Convictions in North Carolina's courts continue to increase, but there aren't as many people in prison as there used to be. Fred Taylor reports Governor Jim Hunt is taking credit for reducing one of the highest prison populations in the country.
Governor Hunt ordered a step-up in the number of paroles. Since March, 886 inmates have been released. By the end of the year, 7,200 will have been released for 1978. Improved procedures also make more prisoners eligible for parole.
For example, if a prisoner were turned down for parole under the old system, he would not have been reconsidered for an entire year. Under the system headed by Commission Chairman Jim Woodard, those inmates who are turned down are usually reconsidered within several months. This increases the Commission's workload, but it also increases paroles for people who are eligible and deserve it.
Split sentencing also allows the criminal to serve a small part of his prison term behind bars and the rest on probation. And local jails that are usually less crowded are also being used by the state.
So despite the new state programs designed to reduce the prison population, North Carolina still has one of the most overcrowded prison facilities in the country, 1,200 inmates over capacity. But the old central prison here in Raleigh is being torn down and a new one is being built, and that should give everybody a little bit more breathing room. This is Fred Taylor, Action News 5.
Later in the day, Hunt attended opening ceremonies for a segment of US 264 designed to improve driving in central and eastern North Carolina. 2 additional lanes on a 16-mile stretch of highway from near Zebulon to west of Wilson were opened. I saw your pretty daughter today and a whole bunch of her classmates over at Cary Junior High.
Thank you.
She told me to tell you to buy her something nice for Christmas.
I was down at Benson Elementary today, and they said tell you hello, and I'll talk more about that. And we'll also talk a little bit about the weather and how bad it is in the central part of the United States right after this.
Okay, time to play What's My Bologna? First question, please. Is your bologna made from only fresh cuts of pork and beef? Consistently, no fillers at all. Is it spicy? On the contrary, it's mild. Is there artificial coloring? Unconditionally, no. And how does it taste? Constantly delicious. Is your bologna Cons? Congratulations. You can feed kids a lot of bologna, but there's no bologna like Cons bologna, okay? Okay! Oh, Cons!
For fashionable gift ideas, shop this Christmas at Ward's. This year, Ward's has something for all the men on my list. For John and the boys, a beautiful assortment of long-sleeve box dress shirts, handsome tone-on-tone solids, yarn-dyed patterns, and bold prints. Christmas priced at Ward's just $5.97 each. But that's not all. Cozy shawl, collar, velour robes, only $16.97. Make this a Merry Christmas for all, with savings from Ward's.
Capital Sports Network presents ACC Basketball 78-79. Now you can become an expert on the most exciting college basketball conference in the country. ACC Basketball 78-79 tells the whole story with in-depth articles by the best sports writers in the conference combined with action-packed color photos. Take a look at the superstars. Jim Spanarkel, Mike Jaminski, Hawkeye Whitney, Michael Corrin, Gene Banks, John Campbell, and others. Quizzes, rosters, stats, schedules, new rules, and more in the best preseason magazine about the best conference in the country. ACC Basketball 78-79. Order now and save 50 cents off the newsstand cost. Send check or money order for $2.50 to ACC Basketball 78-79, Box 10,500, Raleigh, North Carolina 27605. Postage and handling included. ACC Basketball 78-79, available at all area newsstands, a publication of Capital Sports Network.
We're getting a lot of moisture in the air over North Carolina. We'll show you on our weather map in a moment where it's coming from. There is a very, very severe winter storm in the central United States, causing a lot of heartache from down around Arizona and New Mexico all the way up to the Great Lakes area. We'll feel a part of that storm over the weekend as the trailing cold front goes through here sometime late Saturday or Sunday morning. But in the meantime, a very warm, moist flow of air coming up from the Gulf pushed our high today up to 67 degrees. Seems like a record. It certainly wasn't. The record was 78 for this time of the year. Set back, gosh, I can't remember now, 1945, I think. Morning's low was 32. Our humidity is 81%. Barometer 3027 rising. Winds out of the northwest at 6. Car Lake looking good at 298.3. Cloudy skies in the west, partly cloudy in the east, and mild temperatures 58 at Asheville, 61 at Charlotte, 60 at Greensboro. We have 59 in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area moments ago, 67 at Fayetteville, 62 in Rocky Mount, 65 down at Wilmington, and 59 at Hatteras. Let's take a look at that satellite photo and look at all of the cloud cover now. A reminder, this is taken early in the morning between the hours of 8 and noon, and that cloud cover is sweeping across the central United States. Now, we'll show you on our weather map the storm, but in the meantime, it's in Arkansas. Counterclockwise winds around the low, clockwise winds around the high, so in effect, it's pumping up this moist air. I don't have time to tell you where all the problems are, but you can see them from Arizona right up the lakes. 12 inches of snow on the ground in Chicago, 81 degrees in Louisiana with a tornado watch this evening, 31 degrees below zero in Wyoming. Winter storm watches, travelers advisories, ice storm, sleet and freezing rain, and my goodness, they can have it. Hope it stays out there, but we will get that trailing cold front, and it shows in our forecast. First, we're going to stay under mild air for a day or two, partly cloudy skies tonight. A chance of some showers very late tonight, the low 52. Southerly winds 10 miles an hour, a 30% chance later on tonight. Then a chance of showers tomorrow and continued mild. High tomorrow 72, southerly winds at 10, and it's a 40% chance. And look at the 5 days now. Showers tomorrow, then Saturday showers. It'll be very windy on Saturday. And then with the cold front going through, we'll get clearing out on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Fair skies and a little cooler. Now, Thursdays and Fridays from now on during the winter season, we'll be giving you the road condition report furnished by our State Highway Patrol. All roads are open. Charlie, I went down to Benson Elementary today and spoke to 4 classes, and this is what greeted me. Greg Davis and Eduardo Alfred at Benson Elementary drew that and said, "Welcome, Bob," and that was very nice. And I also visited the cafeteria and saw all the gals there, and it smelled so good.
They have some good cooking there.
Oh,
they eat well there.
They do. They're making homemade biscuits for tomorrow. I think I'll go back down to Benson. Okay.
You know, Bob, the North Carolina State Wolfpack will be going to Orlando, Florida later this month. But a part of Orlando was in Raleigh today. Goofy, one of the Disney World's cartoon characters, was on a promotional tour today, plugging not only the Disney World, but State's Big Game. Rich, did you get a chance to see? Oh, there's Frank Whedon. There's Frank Whedon.
Look at Bo putting on the hat there.
Yeah.
Oh, Woodrow put it on.
Looks better with his headphones on the sidelines right there.
Did you get a chance to
I
get Goofy's
certainly
autograph or whatever?
I didn't get Goofy's autograph. He doesn't know how to write, as it turns out. But a lot of fun over there, you know. And Goofy and his Disney World friends weren't the only ones visiting state this afternoon. Bert Lacey, the executive director of the Tangerine Bowl, was on hand, and we'll talk with him right after this.
This is Uniflow motor oil from Exxon. Change to it, and after break-in, here's what it could do for you. It could save you money because it could save you gas. About $2 worth for each quart it takes to make the change. That amounts to a gas savings of about $10 between oil changes. Uniflow from Exxon saves money, saves gas. Change after change after change after change after change.
I've compared all the new cars but one. Toyota, what do you got?
The Toyota Celica GT Liftback, still a car of the 80s. Aerodynamically designed for better performance, surer stability. The new Celica, it puts the fun of driving back in style.
Toyota, you've got it.
You asked for it.
You got it, Toyota.
A family Christmas, a time of giving among people who mean so much to each other. Shopping for those very special people should be a joy, not a bother. So we invite you to come to our home in the valley, Crabtree Valley, and celebrate Christmas with us the old-fashioned way. We've decorated our house to remind you of those wonderful times. And as always, our gift selections are superb. So this Christmas, our family of merchants invites you to our home in the valley, Crabtree Valley, Raleigh.
John Philip Sousa's rollicking operetta, El Capitan, will be presented by the touring National Opera Company at the WRAL TV Auditorium in Raleigh, December 7th and 8th. The hilarious scenes unfold in a colorful setting to reveal a story of intrigue and romance. That's El Capitan, December 7th and 8th at the WRAL TV Auditorium in Raleigh.
North Carolina State football Wolfpack's gearing up for its Tangerine Bowl date with the Pitt Panthers. That on December 23rd in Orlando, Florida. Now, the Tangerine Bowl is being looked at as one of the future big-time bowls because each year it keeps getting bigger.
Well, that's right, and we've really feel like we've reached that point in the last couple of years. Last year we had FSU and Texas Tech and drew 41,000 people, which is the most people that ever attended an event in Orlando. So we think we're well on our way to that.
What really impressed you the most about North Carolina State as a football team?
Well, there are many things. Of course, Ted Brown is very exciting, and we're looking for an exciting team. The next thing is when you look at NC State's 3 losses, they were the 3 teams who have a total of 3 losses between them, so that's pretty impressive.
Well, the next major move for the Tangerine Bowl now is to land a network TV contract. In small college football, success is really nothing new for the Fighting Christians of Elon College. First under Red Wilson, now the head coach at Duke, and currently under Jerry Tolley, Elon ranks as a small college power. Tom Suter's got this look at the Fighting Christians as they prepare for Saturday's NAIA National Semifinal.
Going into the NAIA semifinals this Saturday against Grand Valley State of Michigan, Elon has fashioned a 10-1-1 record, losing only to Western Carolina and tying Presbyterian. Despite the fine record, this has not been an easy season for Elon because they've had to come from behind in half of their games to pull out wins. To Coach Jerry Tolley, this ability to come back is why they've come so far.
There was one key ingredient, and it was our willingness or unwillingness as a football team to give up. In 6 of our ball games, we had to come from behind to win. We were down 13 points in the 4th quarter at Garner-Webb and scored twice. Against Lenore Ryan, we kicked a field goal with 19 seconds left to win that game. Against Newberry, we completed a 42-yard pass with 32 seconds left. And in those other ball games, of course, we had to come from behind. It wasn't quite as dramatic as those.
Coach Tolley says that Grand Valley State, 9-2 for the season, is a good, solid football team. That will be tough to beat. One advantage, though, for Elon will be the home field advantage. The game will be played in Burlington, and Coach Tolley says this is a definite plus for the Fighting Christians. At Elon College, Tom Suter, Action Sports 5.
Clemson made it a clean sweep in the Atlantic Coast Conference Football Honors Department this season. 10 players named All-Conference, the Player of the Year, and today, for the second year running, Charlie Pell named ACC Coach of the Year and an honor for North Carolina. Freshman linebacker Darrell Nicholson was named ACC Rookie of the Year. That's the first time a defensive player has won that honor in its 4-year history. In basketball, the North Carolina State Wolfpack roared past Davidson in high gear last night at Reynolds Coliseum, downing the Wildcats 97-77, and it was a game really that the Pack just jumped out to a big lead, and thanks mainly to this guy, Clyde the Glide Austin. 16 points in the first half, 20 points for the game, and what a season this little guy's having. There he goes again. Bingo from the left corner. But there was also some good balanced scoring. Charles Hawkeye Whitney, 18 points for the Pack. The Pack roared out to a big lead early and kept it and played solid basketball most of the night. Occasionally they had some rough spots, but all the same, we saw some good teamwork there. Donnie Perkins with a bucket. Watch this play right here. Coming down, good teamwork. Hawkeye with a bucket right there. In the second half, the Pack just rolled on. Slam dunk, Tiny Pinder right there. We're going to see Hawkeye coming up right now. Long court pass to Hawkeye. Going up, guarded heavily, still jams it, and the big 7-foot freshman eligible Chuck Nevitt. Watch this. Slam dunk right there, and the crowd just loved it. State 97-77, and Richard Petty is in the news again. This time, however, not from the driver's seat of his number 43 Chevy, but rather a hospital bed. King Richard's in a Greensboro hospital, resting comfortably after undergoing surgery for the removal of scar tissue from an ulcer he had earlier this year, and the reason for the surgery was to head off any future problems resulting from the scar tissue. And by the way, Petty is planning on racing the full NASCAR circuit next year, and this is just the maybe category right now, although it looks pretty good. Checked it right before coming on the air. It appears Rod Carew has been traded from the Minnesota Twins to the San Francisco Giants. Carew has to approve the deal, but the Giants are prepared to pay him $3.5 million over a 5-year period, and in return, the Twins are supposed to get Mike Ivey, center fielder Larry Herndon, a minor league pitcher, and Charlie, $400,000.
Unbelievable. What a trade.
What kind of money are we talking about?
I don't know. It's incredible, isn't it?
Dimes. It's unbelievable.
Thank you, Rich. Raleigh-Durham Airport security officers today arrested a man for littering. It later turned out he was wanted for a bank robbery in Virginia. When James Ray McQueen was questioned about the littering, he pulled out some identification and some money stained with red dye. Police say McQueen offered them some of the money if they let him go. McQueen is in jail tonight without bond. Still to come, it was a day of infamy 37 years ago today. Some of you perhaps remember. North Carolina takes time to remember. That story and more coming up next.
Children, they do grow up. So give your mom and grandma the perfect remembrance. A Little People bracelet or necklace from the Roman craftsman. The Little People, crafted in beautiful gold tone, are only $4 each. And the child's name is engraved free of charge while you shop. Grandma and Mom will love your special gift, the Little People necklace or bracelet. See the Roman Little People today.
Roman jewelry available at Ivy's, Raleigh, and Chapel Hill.
Maybe someday, all watches will be made like the new Seiko Sports 100 Quartz Collection. Accurate, shock-resistant, water-tested to 300 feet, can run up to 5 years on one battery. And maybe someday, all watches will be as slim and accurate as the new Seiko Ultra-Thin Quartz for men and women. Today, they're made by Seiko. Maybe someday, all watches will be made this way.
Seiko watches available at Gordon's Jewelers, Chapel Hill.
The North Carolina Symphony, bringing outstanding music to every citizen of North Carolina, prized for its excellence in North Carolina and nationally. The North Carolina Symphony, measure for measure, music's finest, in concert for you.
Hello, I'm Walti Rasulullah, Public Affairs Director for WRAL TV. At various times, I'm sure many of you have wanted an opportunity to express your point of view on matters of community concern. Now WRAL TV makes that possible with Speak Out. For 30 or 60 seconds, you can hold center stage and express your opinion on the air. This booklet will tell you how. Write Speak Out, WRAL TV, Box 12,000, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27605.
37 years ago today, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, catapulting the United States into World War II. In the light of that event and of the war that followed, it's one of the ironies of history that the United States has done more than any other nation to help Japan recover. In addition, the U.S. insisted that Japan approve a new constitution, renouncing military force and doing away with the bulk of its armed forces. Now the irony has come full circle. The United States is quietly urging the Japanese to wink at the Constitution and rebuild their Army, Navy, and Air Force. All because the U.S. State Department now realizes that it bit off more than the American people would be willing to chew when it undertook to defend Japan against its enemies, provided Japan would give up its armed forces. They realized that if the American people were not willing to keep fighting to defend Vietnam, they might not be willing to keep fighting to defend Japan. And you can bet the Japanese realize it too. So the 37th anniversary of Pearl Harbor finds the U.S. doing all it can to urge that Japan again become an important military power, thus proving once again the cynical old French saying, the more things change, the more they remain the same.
This has been a WRAL TV editorial. Printed copies are available and viewer comment is welcome.
37 years ago today, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, leaving a trail of dead and grooving the memories of hundreds of others. Those memories were observed today, as Rachel Bell reports.
For the 17th consecutive year, ROTC cadets are manning a 24-hour honor guard around the Bell Tower at North Carolina State University. It's a tribute to the 2,200 men killed at Pearl Harbor on this day back in 1941. At least 1,200 others were wounded when Japanese bombers, 200 of them, stormed the U.S. naval fleet on that fateful December morning. It was 7:55 on a Sunday. One survivor, William Langley, who was serving aboard the USS Maryland, remembers that morning as if it were yesterday.
I remember the planes were coming in and there was a lot of noise. We could hear the, engines of the planes were flying very low. This was the first attack, the torpedo bombers. And we went over to the portholes to look out. And as we did, we heard the machine guns on the planes that were strafing the ships at that time, but we thought they were blanks. But about that time, we saw that those bullets were striking the ship, and we could see the fire flying from the strafing and so forth.
Langley was among several Air Force, city, and NCSU dignitaries who participated in the ceremony. Reflecting on that infamous day 37 years ago, Langley says simply he's thankful he lived to tell about it. Rachel Bell, Action News 5.
It's hard to believe 37 years have gone by since that
I was
day.
playing tennis that morning, getting myself whomped by a girl. I can't play tennis.
That snowstorm in Chicago was
it's tough. We'll take another look at the progress of the storm tonight in the 11 o'clock show, but it appears that we'll get some of its effect here in North Carolina the weekend. Rich?
Well, Bob, it's that time of the year again, basketball season. Of course, we have basketball to report on and a lot more sports. Charlie?
And we hope you'll join us tonight at 11 o'clock for an update on all the news, weather, and sports. ABC News is next. Thank you for watching, and good night.